I love superheroes. And if you ask me, the superpower I want, it is magic. But the superpower I am rebuilding, or rather reawakening, is curiosity. Why? To answer that, we need a flashback. A while back, my nephew, who's now 6, came to me. Kaka, I'll show you magic. He got a spoon, showed my reflection. Now I'll make you upside down. He reversed the spoon so that the concave side was facing me. What caught my attention, besides his intense delight, was that spoons no longer hold my curiosity. They are an everyday object, so not interesting. But for my nephew and children of all ages, there's a whole universe they are interested in. That day, I decided to once again become even more childlike. And that is why I am reactivating my powers of curiosity. I call myself Question Man. I've already started practicing. Snehalata ma'am will tell you the number of whys, whats, whens, wheres, and how I've asked. Some patience she has. My costume will have a question mark. And I'll wear the bad guys down with my curiosity. They'll be like, stop, stop, stop wanting to know so much. We give up, whatever you say. I had already warned you, I'll be more childish. Wait, I think I said more childlike. Oops, sorry. Bad jokes aside. There's a wonderful quote by Eleanor Roosevelt that I paraphrase. If we could ask a wish that would give a child the most useful gift, that should be curiosity. And that is what I wish for you all. In fact, for all of us, joyful and relentless curiosity. But what is curiosity? According to George Loewenstein, a behavioral economist, curiosity is a gap between what we know about something and what we want to know about it. You could think of curiosity as a mental itch. And the way to scratch it is to seek out more information, which opens up a new gap, causing a new itch, which you scratch. You get the drift? Michel Resnick, in his book, Lifelong Kindergarten, shares the story of Maria, a preteen who loved to race on her rollerblades, but always wondered how fast she really was. That is an itch. At a 2 weeks long robotic workshop, she came across programmable Lego bricks. A mentor showed her how to attach a tiny magnet to a wheel, then use a magnetic sensor to detect rotations per second. Scratch. However, whenever Maria rode in her mother's car, she would see the speedometer show miles per hour, and so wanted to know her rollerblading speed in the same units. New itch. Though her school had taught her the conversion between units, she'd never paid attention. Now she cared, was interested, so willingly acquired the knowledge. Scratch. She was disappointed that she was not as fast as she'd imagined, but was pleased to have figured it out. Now imagine, she's been through 2 rounds of itch and scratch, and where must she be headed today? I'm not really sure, but it could be physics, it could be maths, it could be aerodynamics, it could be vehicles, it could be anything. But it just started off with her wanting to know how fast was she on her rollerblades. Yeah, and that's the idea. Let me give you another personal example. In one of my writing workshops, there was a student from a non-English speaking background and who was not into poetry at all. However, during our initial conversation, he got interested. Within a week, he'd written his first poem in English. And a third and final example, this time mine. I've always found maths to be, with an apology to maths teacher everywhere, a lost battle. I struggled with the x's and y's and sines and cosines and binomials and factorials. However, now I find maths interesting. Not all of it, and I'm not an expert by any stretch. But how? Because of my interest and passion for nature, especially space. Now you might say, what's the connection? I came across a fascinating article and a video that explores whether maths is a human invention or the language of the universe that humans have discovered. Since then, I can no longer look at maths in the same way. Again, my interest in nature and space that resulted in curiosity that's creating knowledge. Talking about maths and nature, a talking sheepdog got all the sheep into the pen. He came to the farmer. Boss, all 40 sheep accounted for, huh? This confused the farmer. But I've only got 36. The dog replied, I know, I just rounded them up. Something to ponder upon. Why do some words like rounded and pen have more than one meaning? Languages are designed to make communication simpler, then why not have one meaning for each word? Now, you might feel this is all interesting. Of course, it may not be to you, but does curiosity truly matter? And if that's the case, then look around, and not just around the room you are in, real or virtual. Our world's undergoing a radical transformation. We're in unprecedented times and can no longer expect predictability. That does not mean we have to endure unpredictability. It does mean we have to become good at accepting ambiguous situations where what is true is not always clear. We need to get creative, which is a function of curiosity. Let's take an example. Single-use plastic bags. We're on the right side of the fight against it. I used to cheerlead cotton, but then I wondered, is this based on fact or just my assumption? Here's what I found. And let me tell you, I'm still figuring it out. I'm still curious. I know I do not know enough. Let's just take one factor, the production of cotton. How sustainable it is depends on where it's grown. For instance, the global average water footprint for 1 kg of cotton is about 10,000 liters. Yes, 10,000. However, the average Indian cotton is way above that. The water footprint network puts it at about 20,000 liters plus. That's a long way from being environmentally friendly. And do remember that in order for a reusable to be environmentally positive, we need to reuse it multiple times. This may sound commonsensical, but are we really? And if so, how many times? Let me share the findings of one Danish study on the number of times a bag has to be reused for it to have the same environmental impact as a plastic bag. Conclusion, paper bags need to be used about 40 times, recycled PET bags around 80 times, and cotton bags anywhere from 7,000 to 20,000 times. Now, this depends on whether cotton is grown, whether it is organic or regular, etc. Please don't get me wrong. I am not advocating plastic. There are scientific and ethical and even economic reasons why we should ban single-use plastic at the very least. And the study I just spoke about has its own limitations. As an instance, they're not considering the impact of plastic breaking down into minute particles called microplastics. You might have heard of these. The implications are just being understood. And so far, they are horrifying. Microplastics can cause severe damage, including cell death and allergic reactions. And you might not know this, but we are already consuming it through our food and air. Also, right now, there is no way to protect ourselves. I'm not even getting into the impact on non-human inhabitants and our planet. By the way, what if we just recycle our way out? Not likely. Humans are awful at it. As per National Geographic, close to 90% of the world's plastic is not recycled. 90%. Also, plastic made in some countries is far more carbon intensive since the production fuel is primarily coal. There's no simple good and bad, no easy wins anymore. For developing countries, transition to a cleaner source of energy has to be balanced against a host of other priorities, economical, social. And so it is up to us as individuals to be aware of our choices and curious about what they imply. What do we use? What can we substitute it with? What is the cradle to grave consequence? Technology does not always necessarily lead to a better life. There are trade-offs between impact, performance, and cost. We have to be open to ideas that challenge our accepted beliefs. Now, we're going to take a slight detour and talk about my favorite subject, me. How did I end up becoming curious? Well, unlike all of you who are smart enough to know you do not know it all, I detested any good advice or mentoring. As a result, by the time I graduated, I was purposeless. What saved me was my curiosity. I attended a couple of random workshops, including one on RJing and script writing, because I found the theme interesting. And while no one was paying me to blabber, no one is still paying me to blabber, for some weird reason, people have been willing to pay me to write. This was 2001. Today, 2 decades later, the only thing I can do well is write. It all began with curiosity. And so, friends, my suggestion to you is that even though you might want to grow up in a hurry, do not grow out of your childhood. If I call you children, I do not patronize you. I envy you. French poet-philosopher Charles Baudelaire called genius as childhood recaptured at will. If you're still curious, you have not yet grown out of your genius. You still have promise. You are our hope. In fact, Most of what we call genius is heightened and incessant curiosity. Don't take my word for it. Albert Einstein said, I have no special talents. I'm only passionately curious. In fact, many breakthrough discoveries and remarkable inventions have resulted from being curious. There's a fascinating book by Ian Leslie called Curious, where he gives plenty of examples. I'm just going to elaborate on one. Did you know that there was a time when even a simple cut or wound could lead to death? Yes, infection was a nemesis against which we had little to no defense. This was true less than about 100 years back. A knight in a white lab coat is Alexander Fleming, who discovered accidentally while doing some experiments, and he was off on a holiday, he left some samples behind, and he found that a fungal contamination killed the bacteria that he was trying to kill. He called this antibacterial substance penicillin. Now, you might have heard of penicillin, but you can also say it just happened to be pure luck. He went on a holiday, he came back, and eureka. But fortune favors the prepared. His was a curious mind with vast amount of knowledge. He was not the first to observe, but was the first to understand its significance, and he changed, or rather saved, millions of lives. You don't have to be a scientist or an inventor. Curiosity for its own sake is a basic human need. In fact, it's a basic need of every animal. There's even an idiom around it. Curiosity kills the cat. But I have a spin on it. Curiosity skills, skills, skills the cat. Curiosity of one kind and the other kind, they're not all the same. If you look at it meaningfully, one kind of curiosity is quickly satisfied. It's mere novelty, externally driven. This is where you want to know about the life and worth and gossip of the rich and the famous and our neighbor. The other is about the love of knowledge. It is about science, is internally driven. So how does one become more curious in the non-gossipy way? Let's imagine for a moment that we cannot travel freely. We don't need to imagine that. We've just been through that. Not being able to travel to other places, other lands is disempowering. Now take that as an analogy. You're all digital. You're all digital natives. You live in that world. Many of you were born in it. You know it. You own it. But there's a non-digital world that exists. Hop in there every day. Read a book or a magazine that is not an ebook, is not study related. Watch a movie or a television set with your family. Talk to your parents, your grandparents, your teachers, the staff of your building, your school. Ask them about where they come from, where were they born, how was life during their childhood. You'll be surprised at what you'll learn. Read a poem, write a poem, make stuff with your own hands, break stuff, learn a new language, explore a new craft, try something new every day. Be open to new ideas and experiences. Be willing to fail. Another method. In his book, How to Get Ideas, Jack Foster says that the next time you see or experience something, just ask, why is it the way it is? Then think about it, read up on it, reach out to experts. With some time, effort, knowledge, and persistence, you'll probably come up with a better, faster, more sustainable way to do the same thing. So let me give you an example. Something we face every winter, especially where you are, NCR, severe pollution, smog. One of the causes is the burning of stubble. One of the causes, there are many causes. However, this is not just a local problem. Worldwide, $100 billion worth of crops and forest residue burn in the open every year. All of us have wondered, can we have a solution that protects the environment and supports the farmers? Vidyut Mohan did that. You must have heard of him. He co-founded a company that has developed a low-cost portable equipment to convert waste biomass into solid fuel, fertilizers, etc. It's a $10 billion market, and he just won the Earthshot Prize. It's nicknamed the Eco-Oscars. Have you wondered, if you have a packaged bottle around you, just pick it up. You'll see it has an expiry date. How can water expire? It's actually the plastic bottle that does, as it can start leaching chemicals. And while water is increasingly becoming a challenge around the world, we're drowning in plastic. They're terribly convenient, but terrible for the environment, taking 400 plus years to decompose. There are, of course, many alternatives, but one of the solutions is to use seaweed, which grows up to 1 meter per day, does not compete with food crops, requires no fresh water for fertilizers, and actively sequesters carbon dioxide. Of course, the product is 100% biodegradable and it's edible. You'll be able to eat the packaging. Make mine coffee flavored, please. Okay, so now I'm going to give you two personal examples about how I'm going about blundering and building my curiosity powers. Have you guys heard of the term SWOT? It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's a popular tool or framework to gain a certain perspective. So how did I reimagine it? The alphabets S, W, O, T, they stay as is, but the acronyms change. S could be smile or splash. W could be worries. O could be outperform. T could be toxic or tiresome. The words change, perspective changes. What could you do to make a splash in 2022? Is there something toxic in your life that you could drop in 2022? So that's how I reimagined SWOT. And good part is I've been sharing it with a few people. People have been using it, and I've been getting some fantastic advice. I've even got $1,000 for it so far. But that $1,000 actually was the most delightful money that I've earned in a long, long time, because it was something I created, shared, and people actually saw value in it. Here's the second example. We all have a to-do list, but I doubt we'll have anything that's as ambitious, eclectic, and all-around crazy as Leonardo da Vinci's, the Italian polymath. I'll just share 3 or 4 of his entries. Draw Milan, discover the measurement of the courtyard in the Duke's palace, get the master of arithmetic to show how to square a triangle, examine a crossbow. Now, if you see the complete list, you'll notice that the queries are across a range of subjects and include learning from many, many, many experts. Da Vinci wanted to constantly feed his insatiable curiosity. In fact, we should all make a curiosity list. I'll share a few from my list, not as remarkable, of course, but what's beyond the universe? Where does consciousness come from? Is time travel possible? Are we living in a simulation? There are more, but you could get started as well and then start figuring out what the why, the whens, the hows of these, and keep adding to your curiosity list. It's a lot more fun and a lot more useful than a to-do list. Walt Disney would say, around here, we don't look backwards for very long. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. Remember, someday people will read about you. A line, a paragraph, a page, a chapter, a book, depends on what you're curious about today. I'll conclude with a quote by one of my favorite authors and magic maker, Neil Gaiman. Make interesting mistakes, make amazing mistakes, make glorious and fantastic mistakes. Let the world be more interesting for your being here. Wish you all the very best. Now go, be curious, make plenty of dents in the universe. Because as it is said in Star Trek Voyager, survival is insufficient.